Hey, welcome back to another game review on the original platformer. Today we're going to play the game The Hobbit. Obviously, we're still here on our Apple IIe. The Hobbit is a fairly faithful recreation of the stories and events from the book by the same name. And given the difficulty level of this game, I would suggest that you either reread the book or watch the movies before you try and tackle it. There's a lot of puzzles here that, if you don't know what happens in the story, it's going to be near impossible to figure out actually how to implement that in the game. So go ahead and do that. The other thing that you'll see about this game is that it is an evolutionary leap beyond what we saw in Eamon. In that it has pictures, so that's exciting. There's about 80 different scenes that are recreated in a beautiful monochrome dot matrix style. So you can turn those off if you want faster load times. The other thing that you'll see is that the descriptions are a lot better than we saw in Eamon. This room in Eamon might be described as living room. You were in a small living room. The other thing that you'll see in this game is that we've got Gandalf and Thorn as our two NPCs. You can tell them what to do, and they're pretty good companions. In fact, there are parts of this game where you actually need somebody to help you do some things, because after all, you are just a hobbit, and you're a wee little creature, and you can't climb in and out of windows like the big folk. One thing about Gandalf is he does have a habit of just wandering off on his own and picking up and dropping things and making a mess of everything. So if you want to, there's a spot where you can actually lock him in a cave and forget about him for the rest of the game. Thorn, on the other hand, is a faithful companion that you do need to have along with you, and he will follow you literally to the ends of Middle-earth. So he's a good companion. He will get bored and tell you to hurry up, as well as if you sit around too long, he'll sit down and start singing about gold. So it's kind of annoying to listen to that, but that's a reminder that you need to keep on moving. The other thing you'll see here is that I've actually just paused the game. Unlike Eamon, it's turn-based, but there's also a clock. So if you don't do something in a certain amount of time, the game assumes that you're just waiting on purpose, and will let everybody have a turn and do something else. And so things can happen in this game that require no interactions from you, and if you wait around too long, you may not be able to solve some of the puzzles and you'll get stuck. So for example, there are some puzzles where there's a locked door and you don't have a key. Somebody will unlock the door from the other side and open it, and that's your one turn chance to get through that door. If you don't go through that door when it's opened, because the person will close the door behind themselves, you're kind of stuck in that room for a lot longer. So you need to pay attention and use the word pause if you want to sit and to figure out what you want to do so you don't lose any time. The other thing we'll talk about quickly is the parser. So the parser in The Hobbit is definitely a lot better than what we saw in Eamon. Eamon supported around 40 words or so per game, and they were of the verb-noun variety. This game actually supports adjectives and adverbs, as well as multi-commands. So I'm going to tell Gandalf here in a minute to go off and do a few things, and I'll just string it together with the commas, but you can also use and. And there are spots in the game where you can use the words like carefully and viciously to have an even better impact on what you're doing. So you want to keep those words in mind as you go throughout the game. Let's see. Gandalf has gone east already. Go ahead and follow him, and we can see the first picture outside. So we've gone east of Hobbiton, where Bilbo lives, and we're in a dreary, gloomy, empty land. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the map away from Gandalf because we need to read it to go a few places. And then we're going to tell Gandalf to go off and do some errands for us. right, so what we did is we told Gandalf to go ahead east, take the key, and we'll talk about where the key was here in a minute, and then go north, unlock a door, open a door, take a sword, come back south, and drop the sword. So as you can see here, Thorn is tired of us kind of hanging around and not doing anything, so that he starts muttering about gold and treasure. All right, so what we're going to do now is go ahead and follow Gandalf, and we'll understand why I told him to do what he did. All right, so we're in the clearing, and you can see Gandalf is here. The troll is carrying the large key, and there's also a vicious troll. So Gandalf takes the large key because that's what we told him to do, and then there's a troll that is giving us a hard time. So if you remember from the books, here's a quick spoiler. So I'm not going to do a full walkthrough, but there are a few scenes that I'll walk through just to kind of show you how the game works. The trolls are not really beatable in this game. If you try and hit them, run away, run underneath their legs like you saw in the movies, they will eventually kill you and you have to restart the game. So the one puzzle here is that the trolls are allergic to sunlight, and if sunlight strikes them, they turn into stone. So if you knew that's what happens in the movies, you have to figure out how to recreate that here in the game. So you hide. Let's go ahead and try that. Yeah, so there's not really a hide option. And so you have to remember that there has to be some time that passes for the sun to come up, because it was dark and dreary when we left our house. So the way to do that is to actually leave this area and then wait until day breaks, and then when you come back, the trolls have turned into stone. So you have a couple options here. One is we can follow, well, we'll go ahead and we'll follow Gandalf north and see if he does everything we're supposed to do. Right, so we've gone one step north away from where the trolls are. Gandalf is here because we told him to come here. So I'm going to hit wait, and hopefully he will open the door, go in and get the sword, and then come back out with it. Alright, so the next move, Gandalf should go in. Right, here we see that day dawns, and now you know it's safe to go back and hang out with the trolls. Alright. So Gandalf didn't do exactly what we wanted him to do, so... So now we are in the Troll's Cave. And as you'll remember from the book, outside the Troll's Cave is a sting, which is the strong sword, and a rope. So here we could say, take sword, take rope, or the Parser is smart enough to say, take all. And Gandalf has gone off on his own. So to do a quick inventory, we've got the map, the short sword, and the rope. And Gandalf is just kind of wandering around. Let's go revisit the trolls. Now you can see that the trolls have turned into stone trolls. So pretty safe to hang around stone trolls. If you didn't ask Gandalf to go ahead and take the key and head off towards the cave, at this point you could take the key from one of the trolls, go up to their cave, unlock it, and then take out the sword and the rope. But for now, we are all set to move on. So in our inventory, we've got this curious map. And if you remember from the story, it has the rune marks on the map that nobody knows how to decipher, except for Elrond. So we need to go into Rivendell and find Elrond. And Rivendell is at the brink of this river. And so we can Alright, so what happened here is that Elrond has deciphered the map for us and unlocked a path over to Boromir's house. So you need to have him read the map so that spot is unlocked, and then that allows you to go on and move into Lake Town. If you don't come here, then those paths are not open to you. So this is one of the puzzles, as you can see from the story, that if you didn't know what Elrond's role was, you could have sat around. He'll give us lunch here in a second. Alright, so he's giving us some lunch. And we can go ahead and eat it. What that will do is it'll give you some strength as you fight the goblins and things later on in the game. So there's a few spots where you can get some food to help refortify yourself. If you know anything about the hobbits like eating 6 or 7 times a day. So it's important that you keep up on your food. So without spoiling too much more of the game, I think I'm going to end this game review here. Just point out that this is definitely an evolutionary leap of beyond what Eamon was. In that, you know, the parser's better, the language comprehension's better, the graphics and descriptions are better. One thing about this game is that obviously it does require the pre-knowledge of knowing how to solve the puzzles. So that's one downside to this game. Also, the other thing is that the NPCs, not only Gandalf and Thorn, but there are other creatures in this game, notably the warg, who can come through anywhere in the map and kill NPCs even if you haven't visited them yet. And so, for example, the warg could come and kill Elrond, and the game would be over, basically, because if you haven't visited Elrond yet to have the map deciphered before the warg shows up, and he kills Elrond, then there's literally not much you can do, because the paths that you need to be opened by talking to Elrond will stay closed. So that's one thing I don't like about this game, is that even though you have tried to do something, you may not be able to just because of things happening in the background. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it is very frustrating. So I do hope you get a chance to play this game. It is a lot of fun, and then what we'll see next, we're going to go ahead and play Zork, and that is one more evolutionary leap above and beyond this, but it has its own challenges as well. So hope you enjoy that next review. And once again, thank you for following along on our journey. This is Game 3. We've got 998 more to go. And it's going to be a long 10 years, but I hope you stick along for the ride. And until we talk to you next, game on.